On to our interview with the guest of the day. I am joined by the National Missioner of Ansar-Deen Society of Nigeria and one of the clerics who met with the military junta in Niger Republic, Sheikh Ahmad, for discussion on the coup and the dialogue option. Thank you so much for joining us, Sheikh. It is a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So you were one of the, you were in Niger Republic as part of the delegation of Islamic clerics to interact with the coup leaders. How would you describe the mood in the country?
Well, as far as we're concerned, the mood in the country was that of relaxation, that of orderliness. People were going about their businesses. We did not witness any disruption, and the people appeared to us to be happy.
Can we translate that to mean that Nigerians are okay with this, the juntas?
Actually, we had reports of jubilation when the military took over. And, well, I do not know how to interpret that, but it is as plain as it seems that perhaps people were not happy with the regime that was toppled. This is by no means justifying military intervention in civil rule. No, I'm just stating exactly what was observed.
So your team has been credited for this change of stance by the coup leaders. I mean, initially, now they have now agreed to negotiate with ECOWAS. How did you achieve this?
Well, like you know, see, it speaks to the role of religious leaders in ensuring peaceful coexistence, in dousing tension, in engineering consensus. And that is exactly what played out. We made our own personal contacts within Niger and with the people, and some of our followers, our admirers, some of our students, and we met the president, Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmad Tinubu. We were the one who actually asked for government leave to intervene and explore alternative means to resolving this conflict other than through the military intervention. And it was like, oh, you think you could do it? Okay, now you can go ahead. So, and that was how it all started. And contrary to reports that we read in some section of the media, we arrived to a rousing welcome. It was a red carpet reception. The Prime Minister met us at the airport. Islamic scholars from across the Niger Republic were there to welcome us. Some members of the public were also at the airport to welcome us. And we drove in a motorcade to the presidential palace to meet the head of states, and we had very fruitful discussion.
Impressive. So one question many people are curious to get answers to is that, the coup leaders initially refused to meet with ECOWAS delegation, but met with your team. What is responsible for this?
Well, I think it was largely the approach. And I'm also happy to tell you that the first thing that was said at that meeting was for the new leaders in Niger to apologize to the government and people of Nigeria for the way they treated the earlier delegation that was sent by ECOWAS. Their perception of that delegation was that they were not going to be fair to them because they have not been listened to, and of course the dialogue, the peaceful approach to it, the diplomatic option was not the first to be explored The first thing was that they slammed a sanction against them and the court power supply, which Nigeria supplies to them. And these somehow made them angry. And they said, with the benefit of hindsight, they realized that that was a mistake. That was not the approach, and they were sorry for it. And they asked us to convey their apology, like I said, to the government and people of Nigeria. So what was responsible was a reaction that was based on a perception of, unfairness, and that ECOWAS, at that point in time, when they acted the way they acted, was not actually a peacemaker. They saw ECOWAS at that point in time as, a potential aggressor, and they didn't see the need why they should cooperate. However, after we spoke of them and we convinced them that they had better options, and they accepted, and hence the apology.
So, Sheikh, from your interaction with them, would you say they have tangible reasons for toppling a democratically elected president?
Because, our engagement with the Nigerians are still ongoing. I do not want to be judgmental. That would be prejudicial. Of course, we will get to that at some point. And I can assure you that our discussion was very frank. It was not it was not deceitful. It was deep. But some of the things that we discussed are not yet ready to be shared with the public, because we have not formally presented our report to the president. Until then, we cannot go into the details.
But Sheikh, if these coup plotters are apologizing, does it not mean that they are sorry that they shouldn't have done what they did?
Now, they apologize for the way they treated the former head of state. And that was the apology that they tendered, not for the coup, because they believed, and they still believe, they have reasons that are genuine enough for them to topple a sitting civilian regime.
What are those reasons?
Like I told you, these reasons, according to them, I'm not making up reason for them. And let me say up front, our intervention was based on the fact that we're anti-war. We are anti-repression. We're anti-disruption of normal civil life. We're not apportioning blame, but then we believe that people are freer and they can exercise their right to choose under a civilian administration, and that military coup interregnum is an aberration. I want to state that up front. We are not coup, we are not apologetic about it, and we're not sympathizers. Let me state that very clearly up front. However, like I told you, someone were diplomatic clerics or cleric diplomats, whatever. Our interest is in de-escalating tension and to convince both sides, the ECOWAS and the Nigerian government, to explore diplomatic option in resolving these rather than going out for a full-blown war, because we are convinced that it is an ill wind that blows no one no good.
So, Sheikh, one of the conditions given by ECOWAS to the coup leaders is to restore constitutional order in Niger. Now, from what you've seen, do you see this happening?
I'm hopeful that with the beginning of, negotiations, a lot could be achieved. For instance, it is a diarchy kind of. That is the arrangement they have in place now in Niger, because they appointed a civilian prime minister who appears to enjoy popularity in the country. And according to them, they are not there to stay. They are only there to correct certain anomalies and to forestall, a certain potentially devastating, occurrences. They went as far as saying that their intervention, was in the best interest of their country, Niger, and the best interest of Nigeria as a country. Well, that is still an area that we'll continue to explore. And I'm happy to tell you that His Excellency, the President, has, extended our mandate, so to speak, that our engagement with the government of Niger should be ongoing. So it is just the first step that we have taken, and we're trying to build confidence so that we're trusted by the ECOWAS and by the Nigerian government, and also by the Nigerian government. And right now, other interested parties are showing, willingness to meet with us.
All right. So another question I would like to ask you is, can you and ECOWAS trust these coup leaders to honor any agreements reached with them so far?
Well, you see, there is latitude for trust. I said latitude because it is a relative thing. Human beings have a freedom to choose to be honorable between being honorable and being ignoble and being dishonorable. We think that the Nigerian government, as it is currently constituted, will also reciprocate the goodwill so far that the ECOWAS, is beginning to show. And the fact that, you must note that I said we made initial contacts, we put our honor and safety on the line. And from the discussions that we have had, we believe that they will not do anything that is untoward. We believe and we hope so, because this is not an ordinary diplomatic engagement. Remember that we're religious leaders, and including many people who are involved in these, including the new military leadership, are also our followers. When I say our followers, I'm being intentional, I'm being deliberate. I do not mean by that we're privy to their coup d'etat, or that they have consulted us. They know that the role that we have chosen to play is the role of de-escalation of tension, and we wanted to ensure that rather than war, we should talk, we should dialogue, and we can achieve a lot.
All right. So these economic sanctions imposed by ECOWAS are having an impact on the people rather than the coup plotters. I mean, some of the coup plotters have said these sanctions have made it difficult for people to access medicines, food, and electricity. But then, can sanctions really dissuade the coup leaders?
No, sanctions have never been known to play the role that it is intended for. Sanctions will ultimately hurt the people. Unfortunately, in this case, it is not only the people of Niger, but even the people of Nigeria. How? How? Nigeria has perhaps the longest border, with Niger Republic. About 7 Nigerian states share border with Niger, and the people on either sides of the divide are one family. There are a lot of trade going on, trade in commodities, in foodstuff, in fish, in onions, in pepper, and so many other things that are not captured. Informal trade that runs into, millions and billions of naira. Already, as at today, some of the traders in Nigeria are already counting their loss in billions. The same thing, even Ghanaians are complaining that it has, exacerbated inflation and it is making life difficult. So there are, unbearable, unexcusable collateral damages as far as these sanctions are, concerned. It is going to affect Niger, especially the ordinary people of Niger. It will affect Nigeria, the ordinary people in Nigeria. It will affect some other West African countries, and it will worsen the situation in the Sahel. The Sahel region is one of the toughest places in Africa and in the world. It is very problematic. It is an ecological disaster waiting to happen. It is, suffering a lot from the climate change. We share the Lake Chad together, and the River Niger is also common to some of the countries in the Sahel, including Niger, including Nigeria. So, I mean, one of the reasons for our intervention is that the effect of sanctions will go beyond what those who impose it, want. For instance, we got to Niamey, which is the capital of Niger, and they were surprised that everywhere in the state capital was, well lit. So it means that for the elites in Niger, the effect of the power courts is not on them. It is on the artisan. It is on the ordinary people, and it is a double tragedy for them. The fuel, because Nigeria has also just removed subsidy, so it is not easy for them to buy fuel. It is not cheap. It is priced beyond the reach of the poor in Niger. So they cannot fuel their generators as an alternative source of. So some of these effects are there.
So, Sheikh, I do apologize. So if the target are the coup leaders, is there anything ECOWAS can do in this regard?
We think that the best option for now is dialogue. Other than dialogue, the only thing ECOWAS can do is to tighten the noose and put more sanctions. They have a way of avoiding it. Of course, they put travel restriction, they freeze their accounts. That is if they have foreign accounts. and so on and so forth. This will have, for how many years now has America and some other American allies imposed, sanctions on Iran? What effect is it having on Iran? Iran is not yet on its knees. Rather, it is waxing stronger. Of course, there is always a way to beat sanctions. Of course, I'm not saying, again, let me state, I'm not being judgmental. I'm not saying that who is right, and no. That is not what I'm saying, very far from it. But I'm saying, let us exhaust all peaceful avenue before we can consider a military option. And a military option in this instance is like, for instance, Nigeria declaring a war on itself. Because what do we do with the majority of people in the north who share cultural, religious, and economic ties with the people on the other side? They are going to be equally affected. And of course, it is going to worsen the insurgency situation in the Sahel. Particularly, it is going to make the porous Nigerian border much more porous. We're going to have refugee problem and a lot of other problems.
All right, so Sheikh, with your intervention and dialogue now being prioritized, can you say with finality that war will be avoided?
We hope and pray that those who are beating the drums of war are having a rethink. And I cannot say anything with finality, but we're hopeful that war will be avoided. We already see signs of de-escalation of tension. We already see moderation of rhetorics on either sides. And we're hopeful that this will continue.
Thank you so much, Sheikh, for coming on the program, and especially for your role in all of this. We sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you
so much. I've been speaking with the National Missioner of the Ansarudeen Society of Nigeria and one of the Islamic clerics who met with the junta, Sheikh Abdurrahman Ahmad. Thank you so much, Sheikh, once again.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for watching. That's all we have on Politics Tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Toothpaste give you complete fresh protection. New Close-Up Toothpaste Complete Fresh Protection takes care of your 5 important oral care needs. It gives you strong teeth, prevents tooth holes, cleans deeply, fights bacteria,